I believe a life lived without rest is an underlived life.
If rest feels foreign to you, or you don't know how to do it, or you don't know how to get everything else to slow down so that you can do it, or you just desire it, but how does it fit into your life? This conversation is for you. We cover the gamut on adrenal fatigue, on chronic fatigue syndrome, on autoimmune disease, on cortisol, stress hormones, stress responses, all of it. And I know you're going to relate to this conversation. I know so many of you feel just like Michelle did, and you just don't know what to do next. Well, not only is she going to give you some great encouragement today, but also some practicals and amazing information. And so I have a great conversation in store for you today with Michelle McCoy, who is a board-certified functional and holistic health coach and fatigue expert. So if you've ever felt tired, this is for you. Let's go. Hey, Mama, are you overwhelmed by your full, blessed life? Do you feel stuck in the messy, mundane middle? Then I'm so glad you're here to take a breath. Hey, I'm Shan, RN, holistic wellness coach, and a mom to four that went from perfectionism, control, and lots of anxiety to intentionally living through simple solutions and so much peace. If you are done with the stressed out life, hot mess express type of motherhood, then heat up that coffee again and let's live holistically well in the middle. Let's go. Okay, I am so excited to welcome another Michelle to the show. I have my friend Michelle McCoy here. Thank you for coming on Holistic Moms.
Oh, it's so my pleasure to be here, Shan. I'm happy to talk with you today and help your listeners to reduce their stress.
Yes, that's what we love to do around here. We love to talk about reducing stress and living this life more peacefully. Can you please just share a little bit about your family?
Okay, well, I live in North Carolina, and we are kind of transplants from the farm country of upstate New York, but we've been here 31 years, so I say we're Southerfied by now. And my husband and I have been married for 33 years. We have two adult kids with their spouses, no grandbabies yet, and they all live within a 4-hour radius of us. So that's really, really nice. And just living this empty nest season and loving it and enjoying our chickens and enjoying just working and pouring into those that God lays in our path.
Yeah, I love it. So I may get this episode on YouTube, but probably not. And so I need to tell y'all, she does not look like she's an empty nester. She looks so young. And so we want to learn from her. We want to learn what's reducing her stress, especially in her face and her skin and her body, so that she can look so young. But I'll definitely have like a reel or some kind of video so you can see. But anyway, I love it, Michelle. And then, share with us. In this current season of life, you are an empty nester. What are 2 things making your life less stressful?
Okay, I love this question so much. This is going to sound so silly, but because it's kind of two-part. It's a little bit of stress, but then it's also stress relief. We have chickens. And so just loving being like a very, very mini homesteader. I say very, very mini because we're in a neighborhood. But we have an acre of land and we have chickens, and that brings a whole other level of stress. But at the same time, in the day-to-day, it is really stress relieving to let them outside and watch them have free play and just their antics. That's really, really funny. So that is,
Yes.
that is one of those things.
You get your daily laugh, maybe multiple times a day. That's so fun.
Yeah, they have their own personalities. I mean, they really do. And yes, I named them.
Of course.
And I shouldn't have, because, it just hurts your heart when they die or they get eaten by a hawk or something. So yeah.
Yeah, I get that.
The other thing is I always try to walk my talk. And so one of the things that has really helped me to reduce my stress in the day-to-day is my 5-minute midday reset.
Ooh.
And this is a method that I walk my clients through. And I practice this often because, number one, I had to, which is how I developed it. But also, number two, like I want to. Like this is something I get to do because I am not literally at the mercy of punching that clock anymore like I was. And so I get to do this. And I will tell you,
Mhm.
I also implemented it while I was punching a clock because everybody has the ability to go to the bathroom and be in private.
Mhm.
So
Yes.
this is when we do the 5-minute midday reset. And it's just simply R stands for rise, get up out of your chair,
Mhm.
relocate, right? Engage your breath, take some deep breathing sessions, like I'd say 2 or 3 at least. Move your body. So S is stretch, just stretch right in place. E is eat. If you haven't eaten, and this is why I love to do this at lunchtime, and I tell my clients on their lunch break to make sure that they get this in, because you'd be surprised how many women do not eat at lunch and they just keep pushing through like they're a machine.
Mhm.
And then T is transform your mind. So it's that Romans 12:2, acknowledging the Lord as sovereign and just transforming our mind, whatever that means, whatever that comes to you. To me, there's always a verse that comes to me. After I breathe and I've relocated and I've stretched, like it's just the Lord naturally just brings a verse to me. And so, yeah, my 5-minute reset method, and I will do that a couple of times a day if I'm having a particularly humdinger of a day.
Wow, I love that so much. I talk to a lot of nurses, healthcare professionals, and it's a stressful job. But I do tell them, I'm like, you might not get a full lunch break, but you do get a bathroom break. And if you do not get the right to go to use the restroom, then you've got to find another job. I love the method.
Yes.
Okay, so we love to highlight testimonies here because, for one, Revelation 12:11 says, they conquered him by the blood of the Lamb and by the word of their testimony. And testimony is evidence of God's past tense. I got this definition from Mark Batterson, which is one of my favorite authors. He says, testimony is evidence of God's past tense providence in your life. And with faith, it connects the dots to the present tense circumstances. So testimony is prophecy that God did it before, he will do it again. And so we're going to hear what God has done in Michelle's life so that he can surely do it in your life. You can take what you want from her testimony. This is what I'm claiming you can do in my life. So what has God done, Michelle, in you that you can prophesy over the listeners today?
I love this so much because I am all about helping women see the hope.
Mm-hmm.
There's always hope in God's kingdom. Yeah, I love that. So God actually revealed how much I needed him in
Mm.
my day to day. Like he showed me how much I really, really, truly needed him. I couldn't do it on my own. And he did this through, I mean, if I go way back 21 years, that's what brought me into holistic health when our daughter was really sick. But then even after that, I had my own fatigue crises. I had 2 of them that were very debilitating, and I had an autoimmune issue that I was not getting support with. And so I will say that it was my second fatigue crisis that the Lord literally made me lay down because I was really stubborn. I just kept going and doing. It's what we do, right? And we just keep pushing through. And I had this mindset that it was all on me, which is a protection mindset that I talk to my clients about. It's all on me. I'm the only one that can do these things. I can't delegate. I can't, it's just all on me. And I also, in the process of the stress, the burnout, the fatigue, the physical ramifications of all that, because your body will let you know when things are not well, when your body's not well. I was so stubborn and I just kept pushing through and I just kept ignoring my symptoms. God showed me, he showed me by always bringing me to him. Like it just, I felt like my soul needed to be near Jesus, if that makes sense. Like I
Mm-hmm.
had to listen to worship music every day on the way to and from work. I had to quiet out the noise of everybody else and just listen to sermons from Bible believing pastors, and not just fluff, not just prosperity. Like I needed to hear the word, and I needed to infuse that into my day. I had sticky notes all over. I would constantly do these throw up prayers, right? Just
Mm-hmm.
constantly like, help me through this day. I worked in a very toxic environment and I had weird wonky hours. So I kind of like a shift kind of schedule Monday through Friday. And I was also going through what I call the fire in family life and home life for like 3 years. And everything just kind of brought me to this perfect storm of complete burnout.
Yeah.
And when that happened, I was still stubborn
No.
because I didn't really know how to not keep going. I didn't know how to rest. I
Yeah.
truly did not know how to rest because in my mind, resting was lazy.
Yeah.
In my mind, and this stems from childhood, I felt like if I was resting, I was not doing not only what was expected of me by my own expectations, right? Because we have our highest expectations on ourselves, but what I thought the Lord wanted me to do.
Mm-hmm.
And so he really brought Matthew 6:33 and then, Matthew 11:28 and 30, come to me all who are weary and heavy laden. He brought those verses to life for me.
Mm-hmm.
And so I really believe that it was just him constantly sweetly drawing me to himself that helped me to finally, as well as making me lay down, literally, that helped me realize, okay, I can't do this on my own.
Yeah.
There's no way. I may have been getting away with it my whole life, pushing through, pushing through, pushing through. It was not working anymore.
Yep. Totally relate to a lot of that. And I'm sure a lot of the listeners can too. Can you share what you did? Like when you finally released the stubbornness, you finally just, how did you decide? How did you decide I'm going to rest? And I know the verses came to you, but how do you implement them? Hey, sweet caregiver, I have a quick question for you. Are you running on empty and not sure if it's burnout? Are you so exhausted, fatigued, and don't even have time to wonder if you're in burnout? Or maybe you know you're in burnout, but you can't get out. For me, I didn't know. I questioned that, but same thing. I just didn't have time to figure it out. So I created a fun, free quiz called Am I in Burnout? It's short, eye-opening, and it'll give you the personalized next steps to move from survival mode into peaceful, purposeful living. You don't have to guess anymore. You don't have to wonder. You'll know exactly where you stand on the burnout spectrum and how to get out of it. And I'm going to be there right along the way with you. Take the quiz today at theshanwright.com/quiz. Go discover if you're in burnout or you're headed there fast. Take 5 minutes so you can start living in your peace. Again, that's www.theshanwright.com/quiz.
I did not rest well in the beginning. Shan, I did not. And I was not implementing a Sabbath. So this came later. We always have our own story and our own journey so that we can then help others, right? So that they're not on such a difficult path. But the stress I was under was so heavy that I kept waiting for the other shoe to drop. When work is stressful, but home life is good, we can get through it. But, and vice versa. When work is good, but home life is stressful, we can get through it. But when everything's hitting the fan, it's a lot harder. And I think that's where us driven women dig our heels in even more and we push through even more.
Yeah.
So I really just had to release and surrender every single day. And for me, I did a visual. I literally just opened my hands that I kept so clenched, full of all of my worries and my fears. And it was the physical act of opening my hands. And I would do that throughout the day.
Yeah.
As just like symbolism. Right. And it's so interesting because just real quick, when I was praying about how to cut my hours at that toxic job and, what would that look like? And is this the right thing to do? Like this would have been a financial hardship for us to do this, but because of the toxicity of the environment on and the family stuff that was going on, it was just too much. And so God showed me at the end of a week of me really seeking him every day on the way to work, on the way home. I got up at 4:30 and I would still make it a priority to read my devotion, read a scripture, and then pray and listen to worship on the way because that's how desperate I was.
Yeah.
And so he made it very clear by the end of the week that I was supposed to give my notice, not just cut my hours down. And so I was like, "Wow." And so I did that. I gave a 6-week notice. Who does that? I have no idea, but I gave a 6-week notice just to make sure that they had plenty of time to get somebody to replace me.
Yeah.
And in true fashion, they waited until the week I left to finally bring somebody on board.
Yeah.
Anyway, it just kind of made me realize that, God really does care about the very details of our lives, even the fact that our heart is racing and it's not our heart, it's our stress response. Even though all of these things are maybe in our head, meaning we have high expectations on ourselves, he still cares about our health and he tries to draw us to this understanding that no, daughter, I care for you and I want you to be in good health in body, mind, and spirit.
Yeah.
And you are doing too much. Come away with me. Come away
Mhm.
with me.
Mhm. Yeah. Okay, so you lay down the job, you put in the notice. What do you do next?
Yeah, it was so interesting because almost a year prior, the Lord had basically told me to start a podcast. And I was like, what? I have no idea how to start a podcast. I don't even know what that would look like. So I spent an entire year working on understanding how to do a podcast, learning because that's my nature. I'm an investigator and
Yeah.
I'm going to research, and my clients love that about me because I'm going to dig deep and get to the root cause. And so that's what I was doing while I was working full time. And so I kind of had a part-time job after my full-time job. And so when he told me to quit, in my go-getter driven, high achieving brain, I thought that meant throw myself into this business because
Yeah.
I had laid down my coaching business 7 years prior. It had
Oh,
fizzled out and I had laid it down because of the demands of the job. And so I couldn't do both anymore. And so I laid it down, but it was always in my heart and had been praying about it. And so when he said start a podcast, of course that I knew what that meant. So I didn't, meanwhile, I'm burned out, right? I'm exhausted. I'm physically manifesting symptoms of anxiety, burnout, overload stress, all
yeah.
of that physically, my heart racing, heart palpitations, got my heart checked. Everything was fine. It was, I was flushing out cortisol at a high rate, so much
Yeah.
so that I had none left when I finally tested. And I didn't rest, but I knew that's what he was telling me to do. So I wish I could say it was beautiful and I had this lovely month where I
Yeah.
just took off and I rested, but that's not my nature, wasn't my nature. And so I wasn't truly getting the message that God was trying to give me. And in his gentlemanness, if that's a word, he let me fall.
Mm.
And that's what I mean when I say he made me lay down,
Mhm.
because I kept pushing through and I told myself and my husband I was going to take a full month off and just rest. And I didn't because I got caught up in I have to do this for our family. I have to make this work. I have to do this because God told me. So I wish I had a different outcome, but my story, I pray encourages others that, really seek the Lord. Is God actually calling you to do more, or is he calling you to go away with him and rest as he unfolds what the more looks like when you've had a chance to heal and recover?
Yeah.
Because during that time, Shan, I literally hit bottom. That's when I really hit bottom.
Mhm.
And you would not think that that would be with me releasing my toxic job,
Right.
but I did. And I got to a point where my adrenals burned out. I was at stage 3 adrenal dysregulation, and I couldn't even stand up at the stove and cook. I had to turn everything off and go lay down. I was dizzy. I felt like I was going to pass out all the time. I was weak. I had all these symptoms,
Mhm.
and nobody was helping me with them. So I had to help myself, and I had to go to the Lord and just, again, resting with him. When we rest and we just lay down, we put our feet up and we close our eyes and we're not numbing out on the phone, we can hear the Lord better.
Yeah. How did you realize you were at rock bottom? And then what did that look like finally resting with him? Was it a month that you finally gave to him of resting or?
Yeah, it was such a process. It was a process. It threw me into 3 months of something's really wrong and I needed to get answers. So I went and I ordered these tests. I did not have a
Mm,
provider that was going to necessarily help me. I had to push for things. Thank the Lord, I have providers in my sphere of influence that are friends that I could, run things by and talk about and all of that. So I wasn't completely on my own island. And so it wasn't until I tested and I realized because I'm such a push througher that I ignore my symptoms.
yeah.
I'll explain it away, right? Oh, I just need more sleep, or, I'll explain it away. I had to see it in black and white. I had to see that I was below the flat line in my hormones.
Hmm.
Testosterone, 0. Cortisol, 0. They actually made me retest 2 weeks later with
Hmm.
saliva instead of, I did the urine test. I did the Dutch, the Mac Daddy.
Hmm.
They made me retest 2 weeks later because they're like, this is so low, something's not right. They thought I had Addison's disease.
Wow.
And so that's just where your adrenals are not functioning.
Yeah.
They've pumped out so much cortisol you don't have anymore.
Hmm.
And so praise God I did not have that. But that shook me up. That shook me up because the laying down 3 times a day, that's when it started. I'm like, something's not right. Something is not right. And I always encourage my clients to ask themselves what's not right instead of what's wrong. What's not right? Because you know yourself better than anybody else. So trust that God-given instinct.
Yeah.
And I had no choice with the 3 times a day laying down, which was not my personality, that I had to dig deeper and like what's not right. And so seeing it in paper helped me to then give myself permission to rest and to allow my body to recover. Like I said, my story was not so simplistic because I was very hard-headed at the time.
Yeah, yeah. Which, yeah, I think a lot of us are, this point of your life, a lot of information, a lot of resources, you have a lot of resources at your fingertips. So it's kind of like, let me fix this. Let me put this Band-Aid on it. Let me try this modality. Let me do something to fix the situation when sometimes, a lot of times it's doing nothing. It's literally learning how to rest, which, like you said, we have to learn. We don't even know how to do it. And so
Yeah.
the Lord makes us lay down to teach us. Okay, so you lay down, you rested, you started back in your coaching business, podcast. Tell us what you do now to help others from your story.
Yeah. Well, one of the things that I love to do is I love to work one-on-one, but also in a group setting. So I offer both because
Mhm.
of that support and that accountability, but also digging deeper into what each woman needs. I work very individually, meaning there's no one size fits all. There can't be. But one of the things that I love to help women see is that they need to help their body feel safe and secure before it will release toxic inflammation before it will start to heal and recover. If our body doesn't feel safe and secure, and that was me, I mean, until I gave myself permission, right, because of my
Mhm.
stubbornness. So we need to help our bodies to get out of that sympathetic dominant state, that fight, flight, or freeze, and into that parasympathetic where we can actually rest. Somebody's bloating could all be stress related.
Yeah.
Yeah, food always has something to do with stuff, right? Of course. But if our stress levels are constantly high and we're pumping out cortisol like crazy and our body's in fight, flight, or freeze, and we never can bring our brain and our body into balance, then everybody's system is affected.
Yeah.
So it's like permission to rest, permission to understand that you don't have to act and be and do the way you did when you were 25, when
Hmm.
you're 45, when you're 55,
Hmm.
because it's not feasible. That doesn't mean that we have to slow way down and we can't be, hiking and biking and all full of energy. That's not what I mean. But for a season when you are exhausted and in burnout and what I call high functioning fatigue, you need to allow yourself to rest. It's so important to help your body feel safe and secure so that you can heal and recover.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. So I love your show, and I love how you encourage this in, well, you have on your tagline like women over 40 in this stage of life when we want to feel young and we want our bodies to be super healthy, but it comes in a different way than it did when we were in our 20s, and we just have to learn a new way. And then we try all these different stress relieving modalities, things that help others, things that we see out in the world, things we hear from like on Instagram, all over. We try all these things because we're looking to feel peace, and we're looking to feel that calm and that rest in our soul. Exercise is obviously a big stress relieving tool that a lot of people use. We use exercise and say, well, you don't have to be in like full on run. You can actually just do other forms of exercise like yoga. We take on these different forms of exercise, all in the hopes, again, to feel peace and rest. But what has been your experience with that and helping other women and even yourself to find this peace and using these modalities?
Yeah, I think that's a great and very important question. Here's the thing with holistic health, we are inundated with new age thinking, new
Mm-hmm.
age modality. And as Christian coaches, fatigue experts, those that are helping other women, other Christians, it's imperative that we understand biblically and have that firm foundation of what is honoring God by the way we use our body and what is not. And so I was a huge believer in yoga because I had chronic pain. That was something else that I was dealing with my whole life, chronic pain, and it helped me. I also felt stronger, and I
Mm-hmm.
just felt so good when I would do yoga, and I used it as a stress relief modality,
Yeah.
especially when I could no longer power walk because power walking was to get me outside, love it. But when I had zero energy, like I would go for a power walk for 20 minutes and then have nothing left the rest of the day. I knew I couldn't do that anymore. I had to give that up for a season. And so I went even heavier into yoga because
Mm-hmm.
that was something I could do on the floor, just not a big deal. And so God started speaking to me very gently about yoga itself.
Mm-hmm.
I wasn't ever, never went to a yoga class, never did yoga the way yoga instructors teach it. I just wanted to learn the positions and the movements, and then I would learn it, and then I'd pop worship music on, and I would just do it in my own. That's always how I was. And I
Yeah.
think that's why God was so patient with me. He's just patient anyway. He's such a good God. But he was like, he could have hit me over the head. And so I just started feeling this check in my spirit with the poses I was doing. And I wasn't even doing crazy stuff. I just felt like, Lord, is this right? Like, am I honoring you with these poses? Am I honoring you with yoga? Is this wrong? And so I wrestled, but I kept asking him for wisdom and discernment.
Mm-hmm.
Jeremiah 33:3 says, ask and I will tell you great and unsearchable things you do not know. And so I was just asking. What really confused me is that it's so infiltrated in the church. So I'm like, how bad is it?
Yeah.
If they're doing yoga classes in churches, how bad is it? Right? So
Mm-hmm.
this was a 2-year process for me, honestly.
Yeah. I believe that.
Because I just would try to do yoga and I would not feel right about it. So I would stop. And one of the big concerns I had about my pain was my pain's going to come back if I stop yoga. It
Mm-hmm.
didn't. It didn't. God's people are being deceived. And so once I started feeling these checks in my spirit, I immediately pulled it out of all my programs as a exercise tool. I pulled it all out. You can still stretch,
Yeah.
but it's more restorative and it's not using those poses
Yeah.
that are actually from the occult,
Yeah.
demonic in nature, and worshiping other gods, plain and simple. I don't want your listeners to take my word for it or even your word for it. I want them to seek the Lord for this because we all have to walk this out. It's like part of our sanctification, right? We have to walk this
Mm-hmm.
out with the Lord. My heart posture was good. It was, quote, innocent in my mind, right?
Yeah.
And because I knew that it had origins, like Hindu origins, I knew that, but I didn't know what that really meant for me because I wasn't doing it the way
Yeah.
yogis do it. So There's so much that we can do that is honoring God, treasuring our temple, treating our bodies as a temple of the Holy Spirit that is, like deep breathing. Breathing also has become very
New agey.
new age woo woo, right? I mean, God's just like, just breathe,
Yeah. Just breathe.
just breathe. Get out in the grass and walk barefoot. Get out. And this is why we feel so much better when we walk barefoot by the beach. There is something to what God has given us on this earth to help us to bring balance into our body and to calm our nervous system. Playing, like, that's why I call it fun, healthy movement. Do what feels like it's going to bring you joy. Like
Yeah.
if basketball with your grandkids is bringing you joy, then keep doing it. Absolutely. Dance in the kitchen while you're making dinner. Like, it doesn't have to be so regimented. You do not have to be a gym rat,
Yeah. 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 Thanks for sharing all that. So you have a few amazing episodes on your show about yoga and these spiritual exercises and I call them that because they have spiritual roots, and it's not just doing exercise and stretching. It is linked to your spirit. You have some really good episodes on your show, Treasured Wellness. But the thing is, with holistic wellness, we're always getting to the root. And that's why explore the roots with God in the Bible. You can find the truth in there, and there is truth in there about doing these modalities. And so go to the word, see what God says. Where things are created and how they're created is super important. And we learn that from creation. We learn that from God who created us. And to find out how we function in the world and our purpose in this world, we have to go to the Creator. God, how did you make me? And that's how it is with everything else that we're doing, like you said, honoring God with. Like, we have to ask him, was this created for me? Am I supposed to be doing this? So that was so good. And I think relatable. And I hope you received some of that, listener, and can just find your stress relieving tactics that work for you and don't get sucked into the world's way, which actually just brews more chaos instead of peace.
It really does. It really does. We have to quiet the noise of the world, especially when it comes to women's wellness. And we have to seek the Lord. Matthew 6:33. What do you want me to focus on? Where am I maybe not honoring my body as a temple of the Holy Spirit? And just take it one step at a time. And I just want to say one more thing about rest, because it's so hard for women. I believe a life lived without rest is an underlived life. We are not living the way God designed for us to live if we refuse to rest in him.
Yeah.
And so I had to learn that the hard way, as I shared. Our life is a vapor here. We want to make it count. We want to be able to do the things that God has laid on our hearts to do for the kingdom, for the body, with the body of Christ. And so, good health is our birthright in Christ Jesus. So we are not supposed to be walking around sick, unhealthy, mentally unclear, foggy thinking, exhausted, and just burdened. We are not meant to be walking around that way. So doing like the reset method and just really resting with the Lord in the way that he shows you is pivotal.
Yeah, I love that. Thanks for sharing that. And that encouragement. Go rest. It is so good. So good, Michelle. Can you share how listeners can get in touch with you, how they can listen to your show and just find you?
Yeah, absolutely. So you can find Treasured Wellness anywhere that you listen to podcasts, Spotify, Apple, anywhere. And that would be the best way to get in touch and get into my community. You'll see in the description, but you can also go to treasuredwellness.com/blueprint. And then there's an actual blueprint, a 3-day blueprint that you can download, work on at your own convenience, of daily intentional steps to help you naturally regain your energy and clear the fog of your thoughts, in a way that is easy, doable, and you can continue doing it. It's nothing that's too hard, but just start with one thing.
Okay, very cool. Thank you for that. Thanks for this conversation today. Thanks for being here.
Thanks so much for having me.
Hey, Wellness Warrior. I pray that blessed you. And if so, it would bless me big if you would write a 5-star review and subscribe on Apple Podcasts. Not only would this make me super happy, but it will allow for others to find this show too. Also, I love to chat over on Instagram, so make sure to take a screenshot, share to your Instagram stories, and tag me at the Shan Wright, so I can see it and we can keep chatting and bring other moms to chat with us. Until we get to chat again, mama friend, may the Lord's face shine upon you and give you peace.